What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am back to show you the test hand combo video for the Enneacraft profile I showed you all the other day. So, this deck is actually very interesting. It's very reactive, and what I mean by that is it kind of reacts to everything your opponent tries to do. You have different scenarios, being able to search out cards for the follow-up, trying to protect your cards and everything else in between. And it really is going to test the pilot because you need to kind of preemptively dictate what your opponent might try and do. Now I'll explain that a little bit more in depth as we go through this video. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. After a very decent shuffle and a good old cut, our opening hand of 5 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this is actually quite a nice hand. There's a lot of different options you have here. So what we're going to do is it kind of comes down to, do you want to respect draw or not? Now what I mean by that is, if you want to respect draw, what I would probably aim to do first would probably be considering the release. And the reason I would say that is because release will play straight into your scale. You get an Enneacraft directly from the deck. You can then use your Enneacraft effect to reveal some cards. What you want to try and also aim to do if you are trying to play around Draw and Lockbird is you want to try and get to a card that will give you some sort of advantage if your opponent activates a card in the hand. So that's when you kind of try and look at different options that you may have to, and that's when your familiarity with the Enneacraft is going to come into massive importance. We've also got the reverse. Now, at this exact moment in time, we can only shuffle back one card, which a 1-for-1 to then get drawed is probably not really worth it, in my opinion. So you might want to hold that a little bit later on. It will become a negative towards Draw and Lockbird. And what I mean by that is if you do get hit with Draw and Lockbird, the card kind of gets stuck in the hand until you can get it out the hand as well. Now, it's a bit of a shame that I believe, except during the turn, this card was sent, but I could be wrong. If your opponent normal or special summons a monster while this card's in the grave, except during damage state, banish this card. So it might be absolutely fine then, because I would probably dictate, if we do get Draw and Lockbird, that's the benefit of Dogmatical Punishment, is that we do have cards in our extra deck that let us discard this card, which can be quite useful for you. So, anyway, let's not worry about Draw and Lockbird. I'm just kind of give you a bit of an idea of where we'd be looking at. So let's go with your de facto Enneacraft. So we're going to play this in the scale. We're going to pay 900 life points, reveal 3 Enneacraft cards from our deck to the hand, and then our opponent randomly lets you add one. Now, this is the benefit of being able to play 3 of your big guys. I'm going to go with 3 of the little guys because it doesn't need to be different names. So you kind of need to choose which one you want to your hand. Now, the 2 that we play 3 of in the deck is the Yugioh or the Tormeria. So the exact same kind of element. Like the idea of getting one of these is that you're then going to do it again to then get the last one. Or you want to try and work your way into the Enneacraft, and then Enneacraft will let you put them both back to the hand, and then build on from there. But you do want to get access to one of your big monsters as well, and that's where it will really start to change. Is it will kind of come down to what big monster you want in the environment you're going to. Now they're both going to do the exact same thing, so we're just going to go for the let's go for the Yugioh, because then at least if I do get this to the field, if I have to get this to the field, I've got a flip to destroy, which could be more effective than a flip to negate, but again, dictate it and adapt it to your environment. I'll then scale the Yugioh. We're going to use this one here. Pay 900 again. I could have used release. Would have made, I don't think it makes that big of a difference. Like whether you do this now or later, this just kind of comes down to how greedy you want to get. You need to go for Enneacraft, and the reason you need to go for Enneacraft is you need to kind of clear your field. Like you need to recycle your Enneacraft monsters. So we'll activate the Enneacraft. We'll use Enneacraft as a secondary effect. So target any number of Enneacraft pendulum monsters you control, return them back to the hand. So the benefit of something like that is we've now recycled these cards here, so we can now use their reveal effects should we need to. We're going to activate the release. The release is then going to let us place an Enneacraft pendulum from our deck into our pendulum zones. So we'll go for the one that we haven't got yet of our little guy being the Tormeria. Use Tormeria. Now in this scenario, you'd want to reveal 3 of your big guys, but because we don't play any of our big guys at 3, like the Mar is actually is okay, and it'll be better because we get to put this into the graveyard. So in this scenario, because I've got the reverse, I will be going for the Mar. In a scenario where I don't have reverse, I'd probably go for the Leo. So I would reveal 2 Ma and 1 Leo in this build because I don't have 3 of the Ma. But in an ideal scenario, we're going to get the Ma added back to our hand. There we go. So as you can see, we've already built our hand up as well. So we're already +1 technically, which is pretty cool. So now what you can do is we can either gamble it a little bit and use the reverse to shuffle any number of Enneacraft monsters from our hand and or face-up field back into the extra deck. Well, deck or extra deck, which could be quite useful. But what we're probably going to want to do here is we'll probably reveal the Yugioh. This will then let us summon down the Ma. Now, your opponent doesn't need to know that that's the Ma. This could be any card in your hand. So, at this exact moment in time, this could be anything. The only time it gets a little bit risky is when you activate the reverse and you go, cool, I'm showing you both of these. They're like, okay, cool, well, I know what that one is. So, let's then reveal... Probably want to get this to the field. Kind of want to get this to the field as well. Kind of want to get all 3 to the field. Okay, so we're going to activate the reverse as your pendulum scales are still considered as monster cards. So we could put back the Tremora. This will be the difference between if you want to be able to use the burn effect during your opponent's turn. But we're just going to risk it just to see what we can add to this hand. This is just getting greedy. You don't need to do it, but it also gets the reverse in the graveyard, which means our Mori can be effective during our opponent's turn. So that's mainly what we're trying to do here. There are ways, as I mentioned, with punishment to get the reverse discarded. So that's absolutely fine, but it means we can actually discard the full loss instead. So we'll shuffle this up, we'll draw 1 card. Okay, that's a bit of a bonus. So we're going to set 2, which is what you're trying to add with the reverse, is you're trying to add more interaction to your opponent's field, like for your opponent's field. Then we're going to pass to our opponent's turn. So as this currently stands, what we have, and I'm just going to flip these all up so you can kind of see what we have, but they would technically be face down. So with our Yugioh, you get to flip to destroy 1 monster your opponent controls, and then when your opponent activates a monster effect in the hand, you get to change this face-down card to face-up defense to then add an Enneacraft card from the deck to the hand. Now, it's really important this is a when effect because, as I was mentioning previously during our turn, is if you're able to get access to this card before you go for a search off the back of draw and your opponent draws you, you can flip this up in response and then get another search. So you're kind of covered. Then we've got the Alzuriana. This one, you get to banish face up a random card for your opponent's hand until the end phase. And then when your opponent activates a card or effect, you get to add a card from the deck to the hand. So again, we will have 2 searches off the back of these. And then we've also got the ability, this one's not really going to do a lot, but you'll be able to flip it up with the reverse because you can either special summon an Enneacraft from the hand in face down defense vision, which we don't have at this moment in time, but we could do off the search of these. What you're going to be able to do is flip this one face up, and if you do, you change all your opponent's monsters to face down defense vision, and then they can't change their battle position. So you've got the control to do all of that, and then you add on to that factor. So let's say we search for the back of the 2 Enneacrafts here, right? So let's say we search, because you search directly as well, which is really important. So we're going to search out, let's search out the Tremoria that we haven't used before, and then let's search out another boss monster. So let's go for Leo, wherever Leo may be. There we go. So we'll search both of those out. We'll use the Ma to then flip everything face down again. You've then got the ability to, this one targets a face-up card to destroy it. This one lets you target a face-up monster. So let's say we clear off 2. Like maybe you clear off 1 before you flip everything face down. So let's say we use both of these. Off the back of the Fallen and the Virtuous, I would probably send Titaniclad, and that's just for me to be a little bit greedier during my opponent's turn. And then off of the punishment, I mean, you could pretty much send anything you wanted to. If I want to draw a card, I would send, I could send Garura if my opponent's got 1,500 attack points, or I can send the Tri-Brigade, which will ultimately end up sending me the Garura anyway. Another thing you can actually play in this deck, which is kind of a personal favourite that I like doing, is you can very easily play the Winderlock, because you Winderlock during your opponent's turn, which is actually quite damaging. But the issue with that one is it relies on you having to send 2 monsters. You need to be able to send 2 monsters, which means you would probably play someone like Nadir Servant to help you do that. Anyway, so let's say we send the Elder Entity Ints and we destroy another card. During the end phase, we would then, so these are all in defense position, all face up as it currently stands. These are in our hands. We would then be able to get direct access to our, wherever it may be, we'd be able to get direct access to our Ecclesia. So we'll bring Ecclesia out into defense position because we haven't, used these special summon from the hand effects. Ecclesia can then get you punishment if you want to, or I'm just going to go for Fallen and Virtuous because it lets me be a little bit more aggressive should my opponent put anything face up on the field during my turn. So you see, like, we've recouped our hand very, very easily. So do all of this, then we come back to our turn, we draw for turn, Okay, sure. These are all irrelevant right now. Like, these are the guaranteed searches we have. So you'd scale the Tremoria, use Tremoria's effect. This will then let you grab, like, reveal 3. It doesn't matter what you get at the end of the day, but reveal 3 of your big guys. That's what you want to try and achieve here. She's found the squeaker. So you get one of these. You can then use the Enneacraft as well. Now remember, these are face up. So these are the cards you want to add back to the hand. I'll save this one for later because I want to try and do some attack damage. So I could return all 3 of these cards back to my hand if I wanted to. You would then play the Yugioh. Yugioh can then get you another one of the big guys. So let's just show you. I'll show you what I've got left in the deck. Sorry. So we're going to be doing this 2 more times. So reveal 3. Again, you can very easily reveal any Enneacraft, but let's say one of these gets added to the hand. Again, doesn't matter which one. And then scale the last one, which will be this one here. Again, reveal 3, get one added to the hand. So we've got everything we need now, so let's just add those. You're not going to pendulum summon any of these, which is absolutely fine. But remember, we've got these, so you can clear off the cards that were flipped face down with this card. Can't change their battle position, so you don't really need to worry about them so much. You could attack if you wanted to kind of clear some space off, but you don't need to. Like, locking down however many zones you have done when you flip this card face up is insane. And if you feel that you're not going to want to attack, you would just use the Enneacraft to also add this one back to the hand. And the reason you would do that, as the dog Kika's going crazy in the background, is you would then you'd constantly keep revealing. You go, cool, reveal, 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 and reveal, right? So you'd set all of this up. You've got all of these now set, ready to go. So as we go back to our opponent's turn, and the only reason I'm playing through this first turn back and forth is because of how reactive this deck is. You probably don't even need to put the whale down because you would have already banished the reverse. But the idea would be that once your opponent does something, flip up. Once your opponent does something, flip up. Once your opponent does something, flip up, right? So at the moment, you flip 3 cards. So straight away, your Enneacraft or your Proto and your Deathco are going to start gaining counters. So they would have gained 3 each. So at the moment, you've got 6 counters valued at 900 life points each, which is 5,400 damage. So like, you'd move to the end phase, your Enneacraft would then resolve, do 5,400 damage to your opponent, keeping in mind that maybe you haven't attacked with any of this, and you would have had a guaranteed Fallen in the Virtuous set. It then comes back to you, and then you just go, cool, swing to attack, swing to attack, swing to attack. Or if you just want to get the last little bit in, you can always flip this up, like manually flip this card face up if you didn't do it during your opponent's turn. If you want to attack, you can. If you want to overlay these, you can. But the idea is, again, during your end phase, this was the only one that was flipped face up, but that's another 1,800 points of burn damage your opponent's going to get in the end phase. So as long as you do a little bit of damage from something like this, you end phase, and that's your burn. Like I said, you don't need to rely on the burn because we've just seen here. You flip all of these during your opponent's turn, they're still defensive, they're still big boss monsters, and then your opponent still needs to deal with them. So dog either agrees or disagrees. So now what we're going to do is we'll do another test stand going first. I won't go back and forth like that in the next one, but just kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at. You can kind of see how reactive they are. Your little ones are the most reactive because they are pretty much when your opponent breathes, do something, but they just search your card out, which is absolutely fine. It's just obviously not what you want. Like, you searching out is absolutely fine if you can get an extension to the field, but keep in mind it all comes down to what you have access to. Like in one of those previous searches, rather than going for another big boss monster, you could have gone for a reverse, and then you'd have the reverse to control the Enneacraft Mari. And then when you do that, you would have increased your burn damage by another 1,800, and then you would have had 4 of your insanely powerful monsters on the field. So, like, it's kind of crazy what the deck can do back and forth, and I feel that the burn is going to be constantly forgotten about, and it will actually get a lot more wins than you kind of initially expect. Anyway, so we're going to go first again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, relatively nice here. Like, you would have much rather have had one of the little guys because the big guys in your pendulum zone don't really give you what you need. So I could play this very, very simply, and what I mean by that is I could just, like, reveal, summon, okay? They're cool, set. Not ideal, but, like, quite defensive. If I want to risk it for the biscuit, you could activate reverse and put these both back. So this is the biggest downside of playing, like, so many of your big boss monsters. You can put both of these back. Very, very risky to do that because if you don't get a starter, or if you get hit with a draw and lock bird, you'd probably cry a little inside, and you'd have no defense at all. You could have, Let me just double check on these ones. Opponent activates a card or effect that would destroy a card. That's not going to be much help to me. I don't even think the Leon would be much help to me on this one. If I think my opponent's going to search a lot during my turn, so like if I'm not even if I'm under Fua, like Perulia maybe. So I guess you just constantly keep burning your opponent down. Depends on how much you want to push them. So if you get hit with a Perulia, go for Leon. That's what I'd go for. Anyway, we draw 2 new cards. Not what I'm looking for. Definitely not what I'm looking for. Okay, not ideal. But that was the risk and reward of this. At least I've got the combo between these two. So you would reveal this, set 2. Not as explosive, very, very defensive. You'd have Fallen and the Virtuous, which would give you a follow-up for the next turn. You've got the Cannon. You've got the Reverse, which would then book everything. So you've got like 2 books here, I guess. And then, do we get anything? A Release. Okay, so the Release gets us what we need. It is kind of crazy when you think about it, that you play in... So free Release, plus free Yugioh, free of the Etko, free of the other one. So you'd go 3, 6, 9, 12... 14 of the little guys. So anyway, we'll go second now. This is where it's going to get a little bit tougher, but you do have cards that you can interact with. So if your opponent has something that interacts with you on the field, you want to go for the Mari. If your opponent doesn't have anything that interacts on the field, you can go for something else. It's also a good option that you could play Dark Rule No More in the side deck, but the downside of something like that is that again, the deck doesn't destroy, like, it can't do a lot. A bar playing a breaker in the form of like a Raigeki or a Dark Hole, which is something where the side deck would come into play, where you just go, right, I'm going to side out Fua losses, which is going to be a bit weird if you know you're going second, but maybe it's a deck that isn't affected by Fua. So you take out those, and then you'd put in like, and you would take out your cannons, you would take out maybe Fallen and Virtuous if you want to, or the punishments, and then that's what you put in like Raigekis, Dark Holes, Dark Rulers, you name it. Anyway, let's go second. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, well at least we've got a little guy. And then 6. Oh, we've got 2 little guys now. Okay, so straight away, I would probably... so what I mean by this is, if I'm facing Mitsurugi, I would reveal the little guys. Always reveal the little guys. Because you're constantly going to keep playing with these. So I'd reveal this, I would set this one if I'm against Mitsurugi, I would reveal this, and I'd set this. Now my opponent doesn't need to know that these are these, right? They don't know what these cards are. These are completely unknowns. So now I'll scale this guy. I would use the scale effect, you know, reveal 3. We'll get another little guy. We'll do the exact same here. We'll scale this, reveal 3. I'll get Enneacraft. I'll then activate the Enneacraft. I will return both of these back to the hand. I mean, I've already used the reveal effects, but the reason you do that is if your opponent activates a card on the field... wrong one. If your opponent tries to, like, Murakumo you hit them with this. If they try to activate a monster effect on the field, you use this on them. So you're kind of covered in both positions. Activate this one, reveal 3. Let's go for Reverse at this point. Now, keep in mind we're going second, okay? You're not going to get much battle damage on your opponent unless, like, even if you flip these face up, the best thing you're going to do is get some burn damage during the end phase. So that's like the best you can get from it. But if any of these get flipped up during your opponent's turn, that's when you need to save the Enneacraft. So you'd save that to bring these back to the hand so you can go again. Because remember, as long as you have different names, you can keep going. And their flip face up effects are not once per turn, which is absolutely insane. Add an Enneacraft card from the deck to reveal this card, special summon a monster in face down fence. You can't special summon for the turn you activate this effect. So you just keep going and going and going, which is pretty insane. Let's activate Reverse. Let's put back... I mean, if these are flip face up, you can kind of risk putting some of these back because they've already done their thing. We'll just put 3 of these back. This is just pure, like, getting greedy, though. Like, you don't have to do this. And like I said, breaking a field is not the speciality of Enneacrafts, but making it very awkward for your opponent to deal with them definitely is. So, shuffle these in. We're going to get 3 new cards. 1, 2, 3. Pretty good, actually. Activate this. Reveal 3. Let's get a Release. Activate Release. Release will get us another one that we've already used, so doesn't really matter. And then again, the benefit, reveal this, summon this down. Probably should have revealed this first to summon this down, then scaled this, because then at least it's an unknown, they don't know that. And then again, it really kind of comes down to if your opponent does anything. Because if we flip these, if all of these are still face down, and then you start to flip them while you've got 2 scales, straight away that's 18, 36, 54 damage or something along those lines during the end phase. The only issue is you need to get them set face down again. So that's the biggest issue. But like I said, that's when you save your Enneacraft. Save the Enneacraft for when these are flipped face up, because then you get them back to the hand and you reset them again. And even then, I just set this, and it's like quite a full field. Like this full field is going to interact with my opponent quite a lot. And like I said, this is to protect against Murakumo. Yeah, it's just got, it's all going to change. It all is going to come down to what your opponent is playing. Like, that's where it gets quite awkward. Is like it's reactive depending on what they are playing. So, okay, let's go second one more time. So shuffle up and cut up, and we'll start off with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Oh wait, 6 a turn. There we go. So again, we're actually in kind of a good position. So what I like here is reveal the Tremoria, summon down the Leon. And what's going to happen now is that Leon is face down. So if your opponent is starting to add cards from their deck to the hand, they'll start to take 900 damage during your turn, right? But when your opponent activates any card or effect into response to your card or effect activation, you change this from face down to face up, and you non-target return 3 cards on the field back to the hand. So like, your opponent has to respond to you at some point. So reveal this, set this, activate this, and there's activation. When your opponent activates a card or effect in response to your card or effect activation. So if I go effect and I go respond, you go, okay, cool. Flip this, return 3. You've already started to clear some field off, which is really nice. This would still get a counter, but I wouldn't be able to get the search. I've still got release, and I've still got the Yugioh. So I can use the Yugioh. This one at this point, because I've got the release, and I need to clear both of these off, I'd go for Enneacraft. Scale the Enneacraft. Keep in mind that these are all flip face up. I can just return them back to the hand and go again. So now, does this one need to stay on the field for an opponent to take the burn? After this card was flip face up, while it has to be in the monster zone. Each time you're while it is in the monster zone, each time your opponent adds a card. Yeah, so if it's no longer in the monster zone, it doesn't get it. But we'll use the Enneacraft. We'll add this, and this back to the hands. It just lets you recycle. We can then activate one of the releases. The releases. Now I've already used both of the search effects, which are the hard once per turns of the scale effects. So let's go for the final one that I haven't used yet, which will be the zone, AI zone. Use the effect of this, reveal 3. You just want to get one of your big boss monsters. So again, at this particular point in time, I'm probably going to try and get into the Ma. Or actually, I could get really greedy. I could get like extra greedy. And go for the reverse. And the reason that I would push to get to the reverse is that I hope that I activate the reverse, put these 3 back, and then draw into the Ma. Because I can get the Ma to the field, but the Ma's not going to do anything for me if I can't get it flip face up during my opponent's turn. So all I'd be able to do is use the effects of these to get them all back onto the field. So I'd have 3 monsters in defense position, which is fine because I've got a flip negate, flip destroy, flip shuffle. So actually, yeah, let's not go for reverse. Why am I getting greedy? Let's not get greedy. Let's try and push for destruction protection, okay? There's no need to get greedy on this one. So we'll go reveal, and then reveal for a destruction, and then place here. And the reason I would do that is I'm going to set this, I'm going to keep the release in my hand. So we'll pass to our opponent's turn. So during our opponent's turn, we've got 3 reactive options here. Leon, Tail, and then the Yugioh. Yugioh will let us search. So we'll search for a follow-up at the next turn. So let's grab ourselves maybe a reverse, because at least a reverse can shuffle some cards back for me. Leon would shuffle. Tail will protect from destruction. And then on top of that, if I really want to, I can then use Cannon to flip these all face back down. But these would now have 3 counters. So 6 times 9, quick maths of that one, so 54 again. So your opponent would take 54 damage. cannon's gone. Keeping in mind as well, we also have the graveyard effect of the release. That if it's in the graveyard, set the turn it was sent there, banish it to add a face-up Enneacraft from the extra deck to the hand. So we just need to, like, if they destroy any of this, we can add it back to the hand. We've got to reset all of these. We'll draw for turn. Doesn't matter what we draw, because now what we can do is we can go flip, flip, flip. That's another 54. You just go to the end phase, and then the opposite will go, cool, 54. But not to mention you'd get the flip destroy. This would just give your opponent the burn. And then each time your opponent has a card sent to the grave, they take 900. So if I'm like, cool, attack, attack, sent, that's another 18. Like, it's absolutely mad what this deck can do sometimes. Absolutely mad. So, anyway, hopefully this has been informative for you. Unfortunately, I do know that this set has been delayed in US regions. It's been delayed by like 2 weeks. I think the new date is like the 19th of December. So this will probably give you a bit of an insight into the deck. I'll try and get as much content on decks like this as possible so you're kind of prepared for like cool tunes, Hecker hands, and then the Enneacrafts themselves in general. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions, by all means, comments down below. Be more than happy to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.